still concerned about losing public space in the swale as opposed to.
Not listed.
Yeah.
They were concerned.
They were
Yeah.
concerned. They were.
Okay,
So,
that
it
comment.
was, you'll have to look at the language, but you'll understand immediately if you say it was.
Who made that? Councilor Tettelman, but you made the motion. You could add that as a friendly amendment. Say sure.
Sure.
Okay, great. The other question I had, we discussed making the audio recordings available on the website at the last meeting, and I want to make sure that that's happening and we're following up on that.
Follow up.
Thank you. And any other discussion on the minutes? Okay.
No, I just wanted, as far as, we're having 2 recordings tonight for people. Apparently we're on Facebook live stream, is that correct? Yes. Yeah. Those from members of the community, and so if you're here, you're being recorded. And I believe the Civic Association is recording also, that'll be a nice version. So council members are normally very aware that what we say is on the record. It's very public and very transparent in this room. And community membership recognize that their conversations in this room are also very public.
Thank you. All in favor of passing the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. I'll take a motion to adopt the schedule of bills.
I move that Borough Council approve the August 2016 schedule of bills as authorized, and authorize the treasurer to issue checks and pay the bills.
Is there a second? Anyone?
second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the bills? All in favor of paying the August 2016 schedule of bills?
Aye.
Not August.
Except it says August, I'm like, that's why it's August.
Make it September.
It's August and September, and it's scheduled bills. They kind of, yeah.
The bills will be paid.
Yeah, it's like.
Building and zoning?
I move that the Borough Council adopt the attached resolution, which I have here, 2016-029, approving the tentative sketch plan for 198 Elmwood Avenue.
Is there a second?
A second?
Is there a discussion?
So I just say that, just for, by way of background, and Mr. Metric, please chime in if you have anything additional to add. This is the tentative sketch plan that was submitted under the old Narberth zoning code before the current, the most recent code. And we offered the applicant a 90-day extension, and now it's expired. So I'm recommending.
Or it will be expiring.
It will be expiring after this meeting. So I'm recommending, because this is the plan that the Planning Commission has reviewed, made comments on, and has written us a letter of recommendation on, as well as the County Planning Commission has written us their letter of recommendation as well.
All right, Councilor Whitwright had a comment?
Bob answered my questions, I think, what is different, what has changed. Nothing's changed, but
We're closing this one out.
but I'm just going to comment that even though I know and understand it is kind of by law the thing we need to do, just because we don't have many options, I'm going to vote no tonight, and others choose to, that's great. I just can't see myself voting yes on something that is going to demolish this building right now, and so I just want to be clear about that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor of Resolution 2016-29, tentative sketch plan approval 198 Elmwood Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
No?
And I'm hearing that Councilor Richmond would like to abstain. I'm going to confer with our solicitor for just a moment.
It's required by law to do it, yes.
I'm hearing an abstention from Councilor Richmond. Is there a reason for your abstention?
What's the nature of the question?
Ms. Richmond feels that she has had too much conversations in the matter, that she feels conflicted to vote on this matter, then I would recommend that if she feels that she is conflicted in that sense, then that would be the reason.
Well, then I will vote. What I'm going to say is that the reason why is similar to what Bob is saying here, which is the discussions regarding having a moratorium on tear downs took place long before this past month. They were more than a year ago at the very earliest, and at the very least that I can remember. And I feel like I'm glad to see that there's a conversation going now with the state and other things to look at all of the different options that we have to save the things that matter to us most. And I feel like this is something that's against.
So is that a?
That's a no. I'm switching
That's a
my
no.
name to a no.
Okay, so that would be 5 in favor and 2 against. Thank you. So the motion passes. Next, I'll take a motion for item D.
I move that Borough Council adopt attached resolution 2016-030, adopting the Narberth Borough facility use policy and regulations and fee schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We get that signed. Does it matter that he's not here to physically sign?
No.
Okay.
No, it does not.
Okay, never mind.
I'll
Well,
second for it.
okay.
Okay. Any discussion? This has been around for a while. Right, all in favor of adopting resolution 2016-030?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mark.
Congratulations. Now you've got a template for the ages here.
Yes, oh God. No, this is just the start. No,
If you're lucky,
change over time.
you'll find some community somewhere in Pennsylvania has soon adopted
I
similar
still know, like we
with
cribbed
very similar typos
we
and
cribbed-
explanations.
Exactly, we cribbed from State College, so, okay, why not? That was Charlie's fine, so. there you go.
Public Works, would you like to make a motion?
I move that the Borough Council authorize the Borough Manager to advertise for public bid a 3-year contract for solid waste collection services.
Is there a second? Councilperson seconds. Is there any discussion?
I had some information to
Sure.
the discussions. What, the resolution before council is to approve the specifications within the bid contract, namely the types of alternates that we're going out for. Alternate number 1 is the continuation of the existing collection schedule. Alternate number 2 is a twice-a-week trash pickup, a once-a-week recycling pickup, and the same vegetation brush and leaf collection. And we're asking that the bidder submit to us a separated or a single-stream recycling bid in that alternate. The third alternate is a once-a-week collection with the same 2 recycling options. Having looked at our bid specifications, our bid docs, compared it to other municipalities of similar size and sophistication, the document you see before you tonight is not going to be exactly the same document that is going to go out to our companies that will bid on our contract. I'll work in concert with Mr. Walco, with some of the other bids that I've gotten from other municipalities, because I think this needs some beefing up.
But you would say that the beefing up is administrative rather than material
Yeah.
to the. Yeah.
Yes, I reviewed both, and we've discussed some other elements that wouldn't change what you'd be approving if you adding inspections, additional detail, clarifications, that would ultimately be for the benefit of the borough.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? Motion carries. We'll see what we get. Mr. Borough Manager, do you have a report?
I do, thank you. Since our last meeting of council on Monday, August 15th, the office finalized the following agreements with vendors for service and capital improvement projects. We have an agreement in place with Procom Roofing as of today to replace the entire flat roof system on this building. So with the contract executed this week, work will begin subsequent to a meeting with the borough engineer and staff as soon as our schedules permit with the contractor. So expect things to start hopping here at 100 Conway Avenue on our roof. An agreement with Nelson Nygaard and McMahon Associates to commence a parking study for the Borough of Narberth is in final stages of contract execution. It's first on my work list to-do list for tomorrow. The first public session of that parking study is scheduled tentatively for a date in October. The Borough Office also finalized an agreement with Keo Construction to complete curb-to-curb restoration of all roads that are being disturbed as part of the Pico gas main replacement project in our south side neighborhoods. Expect that replacement to take place roughly 45 days after all of the trenches have been restored on all the neighborhoods on the south side. Weather permitting, all pavement will be restored this year. We may not get it all in because of weather. You can't lay asphalt during extremely cold, prolonged weather. And some of the schedule is starting to overlap now into late December and January. Whatever we can't do in 2016, we'll complete in 2017 as soon as weather permits. We received today the final design and bid package from WRA Associates for the Windsor Avenue Green Street project, so that will be reviewed tomorrow and that will go out to bid with all due haste. I want to give everyone on council and the committee an update on the North Narberth Avenue Bridge. Most of the engineers' time, Pinoni Engineering, for the last couple of months has been spent on coordinating aerial and bridge carried utilities. Those are the utilities that actually go across the bridge. If you didn't know that, the bridge has gas on it. This is going to be a bit more involved than what they had originally thought. Two of the three companies, Pico, Verizon, and on board with their plans. They're still waiting to hear back from Comcast. Once we have that verification, once the engineer has that verification in place, sometime in the next, it's going to happen this week, and I'm looking at John because once we have received this, Pinoni will revise the right-of-way plans, submit them back to PennDOT, and they're going to start negotiations for the acquisition of right-of-way with the help of our borough solicitor. So that is probably the next action item that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. And they continue to coordinate with VSBA on the architectural elements, the design elements on the bridge. And they're preparing to submit traffic control plans to PennDOT for review. Those are the detour elements and how traffic is going to be routed around our borough, essentially, while the bridge is down and being constructed. So moving on, I'm focusing tonight mostly on our public works type projects and the bricks and mortar stuff. The East Wynwood traffic signal, although not a borough project, we expected that signal to be operational sometime in mid-September. There's been a few delays, and I've been apprised of those delays as part of an email chain that I've been included in. We expect the signal to become operational in the next couple of weeks. The one concern we have through our fire company and emergency services and police department is to make sure that the signal preemption device, the little indicator that sits on top of the traffic light and turns it green and turns the other ones red, actually works. So we've been assured it will work, even as the fire truck were to approach the tunnel from the north side. And this is going to be an improvement over existing conditions, where right now we have no methodology to clear traffic in that intersection right now. We have no way to stop traffic on East and West Wynwood roads when a truck needs to get out. So, moving on from there, we're also working with the borough engineer on a project to repair and replace pedestrian ramps at corners and intersections in the borough. Pinoni Engineering met last week with our borough staff to work through several design problems that were posed by stormwater inlets on Essex Avenue. For your information, this project leverages a grant from the Community Development Block Program of over $70,000 to replace curbs, sidewalks, and corners in up to 12 locations in the borough with ADA compliant ramps and improved stormwater inlets. So engineering on that project will be done in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and there will be another procurement effort going out then that must be compliant with federal standards. So we hope to get a shovel in the ground on at least some of those intersections this year, but then again, weather is going to play a role there. At our borough-owned property at 201 Sabine Avenue, there are 2 capital projects in the process of being bid, either telephonically or publicly. There's the installation of improved fire safety doors in the stair tower of a 3-story building, and a replacement of temporary floor truss supports with a permanent solution near the new elevator in one of the buildings up there. We have a long list of additional capital improvements that we need to investigate
enumerate, quantify, and price for that entire facility. And that is going to take a long time to figure out. So with the help of the borough engineer, we're going to start addressing some of those problems and come up with a plan to repair roof, sidewalks, parking areas, and other structural and mechanical and issues that have been neglected in that building for some time. 2 more to go.
Keep going.
Aqua America is that's your water company. They're going to be in town for a brief stint on North Wynwood Avenue and Windsor Avenues. They're coming into town to replace a water control valve that sits below the street inside of a vault. They have to dig the whole thing out, put a new one in. This project should have already been completed by now, but they encountered some utility conflicts that they didn't know about. We're very thankful that they figured that out before they put the shovel in the ground. We're meeting, this project was delayed due to those conflicts, and the office is coordinating with Aqua this week. And a preliminary schedule and work program will be discussed, and when we figure that out, we'll put it out and advertise it as quickly as we can. This is likely a 2 to 3 week long project based on our preliminary discussions with Aqua, so we're working to avoid conflicts of as many of the conflicts that we can manage in that location. The good news is that that pedestrian crossing sign that has sat on top of the manhole for a very long time will eventually be replaced with a manhole that is not sinking into the ground. So that will go away. I want to circle back to the PICO gas main work. What you're experiencing in 2016 is chapter 1 of a 5-story play. 5-act play, excuse me. So for 5 years, PICO is going to be going through town, roughly working on anywhere from 1.5 to 2 miles of borough streets, replacing a low-pressure gas main in the street with a medium to high-pressure gas main. It's going to improve reliability, it's going to increase safety, and it's also updating antiquated infrastructure. PICO's already began working with the borough on this 2017 project with staff, and we've been meeting with their project team to coordinate the work to be done. Next year, the work is going to start in the downtown business district and all along Haverford Avenue and some of the adjoining streets. As soon as we know more about what the specifics of the project schedule, we'll communicate that to the public. I also want anyone who's here tonight and to tell your neighbors, on just a personal note, I've really felt like the utility line coordinators and the supervisors have been really responsive to customer service needs. If you're shaking your head, I'll give you the guys the mobile phone, you can call them
No,
up.
I'm dealing with claims department on 3 different items already.
So if any problems arise now due to work being done by PICO and the borough, please contact the borough office. We have customer service representatives at PICO and the subcontractor who will give you their mobile phones. You can call them anytime, and they will come right out and fix whatever problem, minor or major, you have. And I've seen that they've been very responsive, so let me know if they're not. And final note, staff is working, this is on the maintenance and capital planning. We're working together with our public works staff and our professional staff, like the borough engineer, to understand, document, and manage the maintenance of all borough facilities to improve their state of repair. We want to elevate the state of repair of all borough facilities, and this is going to require time, effort, and organizational accountability. We continue, however, to better understand the steps needed to maintain what we own and recognize which facilities have reached the end of their useful life and need to be updated or replaced. All of this activity will be gathered into a process and a resulting capital plan that will inform next year, that will inform budget priorities for 2018 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Solicitor, do you have a report?
I do. Earlier this month, as you may recall, there was an ongoing case that the borough turned over to the insurance company against a company called Narberth over a sprinkler system that was installed in the townhouses that were built. That was being handled by Suzanne McDonough. She provided an update around this time last year. This month, the court has granted summary judgment in favor of the Borough of Narberth and against Narberth. What that means is we won that case. The court found there was no facts in dispute and that the law was on their side. So hopefully that would bring a conclusion to this long drawn-out matter, which again was handled by an insurance company. They do have a right to appeal. She was unsure whether or not they were going to file that appeal. The reason that that case factually was created was because of differing interpretations or overlooked interpretations at that time between the fire code and sprinkler requirements and the UCC, or building code we had adopted at the time. And I think that underscores the reason, as was discussed earlier today, about the need to coordinate and to streamline our building code along with our fire code. That's Chapter 67. And what was Chapter 50 was adopted, a revision of the UCC. You may recall there was the discussions about the garage and the size of the garage that we had earlier in the year. Also created by confusions of the UCC replacing the Chapter 50 building code. I've been in touch with the staff that would be in charge of inspections, permits, the fire marshal, fire staff, the engineer, the inspectors, to try to coordinate an approach. I believe would be the best approach is to include those under one chapter, which would replace the current UCC adoption that we made that actually isn't in the book just yet when you're flipping through, and the fire code. Essentially what it would do is it would adopt the international construction codes under the UCC, which would include the fire code, which would include the plumbing code, which would include the UCC, or the residential construction code, and permit the staff with their expertise to make any additions, any amendments, any deletions they thought would be in Narberth's best interest. That way, when someone's looking to see what applies, what standards apply, there's a one-stop shop to look at. There shouldn't be any future conflicts, no need to wonder whether this ordinance was replaced by a future ordinance. We can have a new ordinance and burn the rest of the ordinances because they're no longer valid. And that does tie in. There'll be other needs to clean up references that are inconsistent throughout the code that may come up. For example, there's a reference to who is in charge of inspections. Is the fire marshal, is it the fire chief? Right now, the UCC says it's the fire marshal, and we have that in one code, but in the fire code, it says it's the fire chief. So again, we need to get that streamlined. While we're doing that, we're also going to be looking to coordinate the Saldo subdivision land development code with the form-based code. I did a review of that prior to passing the form-based code, and the only conflict that I believe I saw at that time was the driveway conflict that appears in the waivers. And although we're granting waivers for those, in fact, when we passed that ordinance, we actually addressed that, so we wouldn't actually need to have those waivers. That's what I saw when I'm looking through it. Of course, application may be different. I don't have that expertise. I believe that's for the engineer, so I'm going to be working with the engineer when you actually apply the codes, when you actually look at the plans to see if there are any additional needs to coordinate that so there are no conflicts. But again, as the code stands now, the form-based code trumps the Saldo in regards to conflicts. So again, we met with staff on that, or we discussed that with staff. I think the next step is to bring in the planning commissions and their desires to have additions or changes to see how that would fit as well. So that would be the next step. And then really get a list put together of what we want to add to the code and coordinate that with the subdivision land development code. So that's going to be an ongoing project. We hope to tie that together, and I think it's going to save a lot of money, a lot of headaches, and a lot of future problems like we've experienced in the past. The second issue I was instructed to address, what I'm going to do is a legal memo regarding the scheduling and advertising requirements for meetings, open meeting requirements. I started to draft that. I hit a wall where I need to address some questions about how it's currently being applied with the staff and with the leadership, so I'm going to follow up with them. I hope to have that to you this week. Again, that would just be an informative memo so that we can all be on the same page when we're setting meetings, what we need to do to have that done. The third is a matter that was brought up to me that I do need to have a discussion with council about, and that's regarding the 100 Forest Avenue short-term events that are going on there. The Corals have made a very reasonable and fair request that if the borough is going to continue to use their premises for these events, they would just like a simple agreement, not really a lease, but an agreement that says, you know, if you break something, you'll pay for it. If something happens as a result of your events, you'll cover it. Again, I think that's very fair. If I represented them, I'd want exactly the same thing. I'm a little uninformed as to how we currently use it and how long we're going to be using this, just the parklet for events or just general space. But we could put together a very quick and easy agreement covering the time frame that we need to give them the protection. I'll work with Mr. Metrick regarding any insurance requirements they may have. They're going to be looking for indemnifications during our use, which again, I believe is fair. So with that, I don't know if Mayor, you have more information on it, or if
We do know the request is to September 3rd, but I understand that
September 30th?
Oktoberfest is going to be taking place on that property as well, so it's something we should address.
right, and I can have an agreement, the time frame. I can leave it open for notified borough events, and this agreement comes into play. But again, I think Mr. Metrick's going to need to work with our insurance company to make sure that we have that coverage. So we have a parcel that's going to be there till the end of.
Well, I don't know, yeah, it's
Parkinson's
council's.
is
It's not on their property.
It's not on their
That's
property.
not affecting us.
So are we're not using their property currently?
For the parklet.
Yeah, but we will be using it for.
For special event functions.
For special event functions. Do we have any of those scheduled besides the Oktoberfest?
Not present. We had two events where movie nights there, but they're both included.
Sure.
So we just have this weekend unless something is planned this
Okay.
weekend.
And is the Oktoberfest, is there going to be beer served on the premises, or is it just going to be?
It will be served in the public street.
Yeah.
By a licensed vendor.
By a licensed vendor?
And not on their property.
Not on their property. I think it'll just be a simple, if they're looking for an agreement for that date, I think it's reasonable for us to provide them.
I think they should look at something that is, I won't say evergreen, but it lasts, so that we have the flexibility when events come up.
Sure, and I think we could put together an agreement like that, particularly for indemnification. I think the hard part is gonna be, when the insurance policy would apply, when it would not apply, and that'd be coordinating with the borough's insurer for that matter. But, if anything, we could create a form agreement where we can just fill in the date, and fill in the timeframe.
I would, say that is structured, that it would be used similar to other public outdoor spaces or something along those lines, just because we don't, we would love to know what we've got coming, but if we get a call from Hillary Clinton's campaign that says, I'd like to do a rally downtown, can we do it? We'd like to figure out a accommodate, there might be still a Thursday, a walkathon or something.
If we can work with our insurance company's coverage for that, and it doesn't increase the premiums by creating a space that we need to have covered on a whim, then we can do that. So I'll work with Mr. Metrick on that. Make it easy, right? And again, I think that the goal is that they're willing to let the borough use this property. They have very simple, reasonable agreements, and we should be able to provide it with them so we can continue to use that property as our business. Okay, so I'm not going to do something covering the 30th. I'm going to speak with them about creating an agreement for any future events that may come up that we can use at those times. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have all of the monthly reports here. Police report?
It's at my desk in my office. I'll scan it and send it
All
over.
right, that will be submitted and made available to the public. Any comments for the good of council?
I can't help myself but to say, we didn't get a real good chance to thank Ms. Anderson for that before. And instead of celebrating that a member of the community came in, spent hours and hours of their time, we ended up with some internal bickering, which I felt just was not appropriate after such a great presentation. So personally, if you're out there listening to the tape, Ms. Anderson, thank you very much. And I hope we can embrace this with some positive attitude.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would just like to note that firefighter Dewey Stewart passed away since our last meeting. Many of you know Dewey. He was a fixture at the Greeks for many, many years, and was still an active firefighter who served the Borough Houseman for many years, and has passed on. So
It's a wonderful service to have.
you were able to
I
attend?
did, yes.
Old business?
I have two items. I'd like, at the mayor's request, I'd like to move that we agree to extend the parklet until September 30th, extend the use of the parking space, parklets in until September 30th. That's per the mayor's order.
Is there a second? Okay, any brief discussion or just kind of
I
justification?
mean, I just think we should just acknowledge that the BZACs and all the folks who made the parklet, and all the great contribution they made to our community through creating the first parklet, and the second parklet. It's been improvement on the first, and just we should thank them, commend them.
Okay.
Hey, I actually have a comment / question on the topic. I think it's been great to do a little bit of experimenting with public spaces in downtown as we start to have that discussion, just to actually try things out on the street and see what works and what doesn't. As people experience like this parklet versus the last parklet and other possible similar experiments we come up with, what's the best way for the public to kind of get their notes, for lack of a better word, back to council, so that we can kind of consolidate that feedback and make sure we don't lose the notes from the public experience of these experiences?
I think that, there's a lot of discussion on Facebook, positive and negative, but really the appropriate route to have those comments come into this room is by emailing council members, writing a letter to council, or calling the borough office and making a comment.
So I just encourage, as part of the transfer, I encourage the public, if you happen to go through the parklet, if you happen to go through the last parklet, please let us know your thoughts, by calling, by emailing, so that we can consolidate and learn from this trial.
There's also a booklet in the parklet that people write little notes about as well, so you probably have some response.
I have a second.
Oh, we have to approve it.
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? None, unanimous. All right, go ahead and, any other old business?
Yeah, it's a question from a member of the public about where the records where the records would be available for the environmental studies that were done on 100 Forest Avenue. This person would like to review those, and their understanding was that the borough had paid for that environmental study, and they'd like to look at it.
If memory serves.
I can address it from a legal point of view, from my understanding. I believe that study was done at the request of the prior solicitor review. So I believe that those records, if desired to be asserted, would be attorney-client privilege. Additionally, there is a right to know exception that if a environmental study or evaluation is done and for the purchase, for the potential purchase or acquisition or lease of a property, which is my understanding why it was done in this case, and that sale or acquisition does not proceed forward, then those records are exempt from a right to know request.
Okay.
So in and of itself, if it falls under those categories, it would be exempt from a right to know request.
So for that person to
And
get
it would be privileged for.
Okay, so for that person to get an official explanation, they should file a right to know request.
That would be the explanation.
That would
The
be-
explanation.
That would be the
You would
official
put it in the-
explanation.
Right, that's what
I mean, if they wanted to go.
Now, if there were other documents that were responsive to their request that weren't privileged and weren't part of that environmental study, then obviously it would be produced, but.
There are other environmental documents that are part of the record that were not, I don't think fall under that attorney-client privilege because they were like the tank closure report, for instance, which would normally be filed with DEP, and that would be another source of this information.
Well, if we have something that was filed with DEP.
We have that.
Then that would be something that could be turned over.
And I
should
can tell
be
you,
turned over.
if you go to DEP's website, you can access that information directly online. You don't need to file a request to view the tank closure and some of the corresponding documentation that's on the online file. But that's a good question. So that was done, a attorney-client privilege.
My understanding.
Is there anything that prevents counsel as an official action from changing the status of that document?
No.
And I guess the correlated to the question is like what the follow-up, what the schedule would be for follow-up testing of the wells.
That would also be listed on the DEP website, because
Okay.
that would be mandated by DEP.
By DEP, okay. Good, I'll work on that, thank you.
Any new business? Hearing none, I'll take a motion for adjournment, and then we'll go into an executive session on a personnel matter and to discuss property matter.
Potential litigation.
Potential litigation. Okay, anyone move?
Move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening. We'll take a 5-minute break.